everyone, and welcome to yet another Q&A episode. This is a partial redo of the one we had done that went up in smoke with the computer, at least for the moment anyway. So we did a brand new one here. We're doing a brand new one here. We're recording this now. We just added all the questions instead of splitting it this time. We put them all into one. There's at least 13 of them this time around. So we can get started, Joanna.
Yeah, so thank you for everyone for joining us, and thank you for those that also follow us on Patreon, and thank you for your patience during this time as we have to slowly redo some of the things we had in a queue before. And just FYI, we recorded this today on October 19th of 2021. So blessings to everyone that is listening to us now and in the future. And we hope you get a lot out of this today. So question number 1 is actually question 1 and 2 with the same answer. So I'll read both questions. Question 1, I've heard of lone wolf programming, where you live your life isolated or pretty alone, despite wanting the opposite. Is it real? How do they pull it off? By an implant? And then the second question, have you heard of asset aftercare? They somehow do things like keep you poor so that you never reach your potential in life. Is this real, and how do they pull it off?
Oh yes, all of this is real. So I will go into what Isaac said here. Hello, dear. Isaac here to say that to question 1, the lone wolf programming is quite prolific indeed. They pull this off by instituting a series of pre-programmed commands, either within you, an implant within you, an implant form. Sorry, there was a bit of a typo there. Or from an external set of dropped-in programming from satellites, voice to skull, or even give you a possession to make sure that other people are driven away from you, as well as more abundance energies and the like. As for aftercare, sometimes a handler, usually a spouse or friend, is implemented to keep watch on you to make sure that you never deviate from stagnation. Sorry about all the quotes, that's what he did. Be it using and tormenting you, as well as just steer you away from things that you may want to do in favor of those things that you just settle for to make them happy. These handlers aren't always available, so both friends and distractive people are implemented to demoralize you, as well as a series of unfortunate events, as he here loves to call it. Well done, by the way, noticing this, Chris. Whereas a continuous series of calamities continues to happen throughout the person's life. This one is used much more widely than a handler, but a handler is also used a lot. You open your heart to someone just to be trapped by them. Distractions also occur with finances. And inborn can also be there as a handler to always worry about not having money. I know a friend that was in on that one, so that your fear goes up, negating the manifesting of real abundance and wealth, or at the very least, keeping you in a constant state of fear, anguish, and worry over said finances. I hope this answers the question that you had, or questions that you had. Again, next question, please.
So our next question, I guess there's a follow-up to that, if you want to say something very quickly. So if you think you're in a situation like that, you're suspecting maybe, could you be being programmed to be that way, even though you don't want to, because that was what one of the person said. Mm-hmm. What would be some suggestions on how to break out of it? Because really the first part is awareness. It's always
being aware that it is programmed. Sometimes that's enough. That if you're aware of a program within, it begins to disintegrate. Sometimes it's much slower than that with more lineage curses and things of that nature. But for this specific type of question, the way you get out of this is actually a fairly difficult to translate across. And I can already feel something already taking place as I'm trying to explain this. Yeah, I was struck with this for years. And there are some things that I myself still feel like I'm in a hamster wheel. Truthfully, I haven't 100% beat this part because we have run into situations ourselves where things seem to be keep going out and going out further and going out further and going out further. Some in the metaphysical type of realm would say, well, that's because you're not meant to do that, which in some cases that is true. But in a lot of cases, that's true. But in these specific cases, it's a form of carrot and stick, where either it's a carrot and stick where things just keep distracting you to pull you towards something you're not meant to do, or they try to pull away abundance from something you are meant to do. To get out of this, you have to either vibrate away from the frequencies that they are using, meaning you have to find a way to step outside of that by not always being distracted by it. But if it's in a case that's much more severe, like say you're ready to live homeless or something like that, or it's imminent death or something like that, you're not necessarily going to be able to drop into a meditative state. So before it ever gets that far, you have to really truly know yourself and know the what you are wanting to get into and become the path by which they cannot control, if that makes any sense. Again, I have done this. This is how I got out of that poverty loop myself. Some people have been angry that I've said, it's more of a choice. That's not necessarily how I mean it. It is where I've become that. Now, things have incrementally gotten better for me since after my accident, when I went through some of the worst distractions and targeting ever devised. The way I got out of that was basically just knowing what exactly I wanted to get into and actually dropped in and became that path. But am I fully and completely out of the aftercare? No. And I can honestly say that crap still continues to this day in the aftercare department. The lone wolf department, obviously not, because Joanna's with me right now. And no, not a handler either. People have made that comment. I can honestly say no. But the aftercare portion, that battle still continues even right now. So when I figure out personally how to completely get out of the constant aftercare where they keep trying to come at, also through telepathic targeting, through remote viewing is another one. That's one thing he did not mention. Constant watching, constant information gathering, constant targeting, where even though I put it to the past and have virtually corrected a lot of it, there are some things that I have not. I'm just being more transparent and honest with that. So when I figure that one out, I will actually amend this particular Q&A when that time comes. So we can go on to the next one.
Okay. A question for a galactic who is in tune well with this stuff. I want to make an oil using poke. Is that how you pronounce it? Root. I want to make an oil using poke root dried, wolfsbane, belladonna, and not sure what else just yet. But poke root is used in magic. I keep thinking of this root specifically. Has to be a reason there. Am I correct? If so, how well will this mix work? To me, I think it would be quite powerful.
Yeah, this was actually very, very interesting to me since I use a lot of plant material in my liquids and everything. And was not even able to find poke root today when we went out. I looked, the place we went to didn't have it. So Isaac went on to say, "Hello, my dear," with a smiley face. More like a grinning face. So who's listening? Poke root is an interesting little plant that enhances whatever concoction that it touches. Take, for example, a simple sage Palo Santo mix. If you put poke root within it, it will enhance those properties for a potential clearing. As for wolfsbane and belladonna nightshade, it will do this. This will do this for them as well. Very much like if one screamed loudly through a megaphone. Poke root is the megaphone of the plant world. Plus, it can quite efficiently clear a haunted site or other decrepit site like a haunted battlefield or an old asylum in its own right. Next question.
Okay. My question is, where have some of the guides and galactics gone to? Like, do you still channel Odin, Zeus, Michael, etc.? If they all have left, why, where, and for how long?
All right, that was actually an interesting question. My dear Isaac is here to tell you that they have not gone anywhere at all. Ones like Odin are in a deep sleep stasis and can only speak on occasion, but can still hear you. Ones like Michael have gone clinically insane. And he was saying that in a humorous way. Well, more sick than insane in the membrane, but the sickness does indeed cause a great deal of insanity and the propensity to lie. His current link to Saturn and Saturn's will plays the biggest role of them all within his life. I can say no more on this show, or this show may get canceled. Sorry, the font's a little small. May get canceled again. Others only appear to have left, but have taken a step back for others to come through, or were never good to begin with and are no longer in your life. Sorry, dear. Next question, if you please. Good and kind sir.
So I think that's an important question to ask about the guides, because I think one of the things that, again, appear to be what I refer to as a mythos is that the same guides will be with you all your life. And, you know, from everything that we've now learned, that's really not necessarily true.
No.
It's whomever is the best for you at the moment is probably really the way it should go down. I think before, when people couldn't discern as well, they would maybe all step in and pretend to be the same guide. But I have a feeling this is the way it's always been. But now humans are learning they're seeing and they're realizing something's different, and have to, you know, understand that it's what's best for you versus always having one single guardian angel or guide with you your entire life. Now, family may choose to always be hanging in the background.
Oh, yeah, like soul family, passed on love.
Yeah, and again, of course, sometimes they can act as guides as well. But just be open that what you really want is someone to come in who's for your highest good with no conflicting agenda, who can really help you with whatever it is you're trying to figure out, discern, grow. And that's what you want. You want, you know, the one who can. And again, and it also breaks down the other mythos that someone who has moved on knows everything. And that's not necessarily a truth either. Now,
benevolent source creator, yes. And creation, yes, knows everything of every spectrum. That's a little bit different. And yes, are people fragments of source and source coding and all that? Absolutely so. But do those individual people know everything and are always on an enlightened path? No. And that goes for galactics. That goes for elementals. People always go to them for this wisdom when they can look for within for it. Should you ask them questions? Absolutely so. Should you question them? Absolutely so.
Right.
But question them always, and the good ones will always be very patient with that. It's the other ones that you probably shouldn't be talking to begin with that are very impatient with that. And there was another part to this, and so it's starting to leave my head. But what also is going on here, and I want to be very blunt in this. I said this some months ago on a different Q&A, but I think it has to be said again. There really are no such things as spirit guides or guardian angels. There was never an angel assigned to anyone. That is a complete farce. Where this actually, there's a truth to it, as is within someone's baptism that you have to revoke. There is a demon assigned to them, or demonic entity within the church. What happens is this came from Viking and Norse Scandinavian mythology, where they call it Vodor or Warden. Think of this, is that they saw it as a guide or an angel at that time. Those were some of the more manipulated Vikings that the fake Odin had been giving them rules and laws on. That was the reptilian that took over for him. The Vodor or Warden would be dictating your path and try to keep you on a particular timeline that more favored a particular negative agenda by whatever being was assigned to you, or stagnate you in a certain way. This goes along with the very first set of questions as well. There's a form of manipulation, demonic manipulation in there. And the Voldor, warden, or supposed guardian angel, if you have something that was assigned to you, it's not positive. There's been no one assigned to you. You have family out there that help you out. You have friends, you have galactics and soul family that help you out. And you also have beings that come in and teach you some things from time to time, like people you run into. It's a mixed bag out there, folks. It's not like the angel of this function or the angel of that function. It never really has been that way, or the embodiment of something. Yes, there are nature concepts like naiadic type consciousness, dryadic type consciousnesses that embody the bodies of water, bits of land, trees, like dryads, like a whole planetoid or Gaia force that can speak. Yes, it's true with nature, but with these beings, oh, this is the protector, oh, this is the medical technician, or this is the expert of this or the expert of that. That was misinterpreted not only from galactics that were seen on a ship performing certain things, like a ship doctor, a ship captain, a security officer, like you'd see on Star Trek, but at the same time, on the same note, there is no one that is prolifically assigned to that particular concept, if that makes any sense. It was a misinterpretation of what I said the previous with the Starship crew, which a lot of the galactics are set up that way, like on Star Trek. And then the latter, which is people interpreted this, oh, this person is like the benevolent physician that heals all. That person was more than likely a Starship doctor, like Dr. McCoy on Star Trek, or any of the doctors on any of the starships, or say the protector. That would be almost like Worf on Star Trek, where he was a security officer. Things like that. And that's where that misinterpretation came from. The bad guys turned it into a worship factor. Whereas, saying, I'm the angel of protection, I'm the angel of medicine, things of that nature. That is where that came from, folks. It was something misinterpreted that the Orions and other negative beings bastardized to make sure they got the worship attention. They got all the egocentric attention towards a not so good agenda.
But just remember that there is great benevolence.
Yes, there's great benevolence out there.
And so again, the point of all this is to understand that it is complex, that the beings can be complex as well, that duality exists out there just as much as it exists here. And so be much more specific in what you want, meaning if you want to call something in, I would be calling in benevolence for my highest good with no conflicting agendas. And I really would actually be doing it that way to try to be more specific. Now, again, some of these angel cards or whatever may be describing a characteristic of a being you want to come in. Someone who knows about this, or someone who knows about, heart-centeredness or whatever. So you can use those things as a guide to basically say the benevolence with no conflicting agenda that comes in, I would like this kind of subject matter to learn more about. Think of it more in that.
You'll be directed to somebody.
Right, but be a little bit more specific in how you're bringing something in for your highest good.
Yes, also, there are also beings that will impersonate certain angel names and visages, even though they're kind as well. They'll use what people are used to, like the Ligurians are famous for their large frog beings. They will take the form of more of a Nordic or angelic looking form because people expect to see that. The Trogdoboulian are the same way. They're a type of frog being as well. They do the same.
But they're not going to try to
manipulate or anything.
Manipulate, no, but they're not going to try also to continue the thought process that
They'll
these
try to
beings,
help you evolve.
they're going to try to
process.
help you evolve into understanding something greater. But in the beginning, they may present themselves a certain way as the door begins to open. And then the goal is that you expand to understand the picture a little bit bigger. And that is meant to be, it's just a kind way to be able to help somebody get from point A to point B in their spiritual growth.
And also, there's one other point in this that I need to bring up. The New Age group crowd tends to do this. And some people get in those circles tend to get slightly irked at me. They think I'm being arrogant when I say this. This is a point of identification, folks. This is a question. No positive being would be offended if you asked. If anything's offended and said, "Oh, you don't need to know that," you don't need to know them. When they say, "Oh, I'm Pleiadian," or "I'm Arcturian," or Orion also falls under this. This is why you hear me say Dark Orion, Fomorian, Dark Elven. This is why you hear me go into that, or Dark Gray type of being, because there's not too many in that area that look like that, except for the Tuatha, which are in the Pleiades, but which are better looking because they're not decrepit. But in this instance, when something says Pleiadian Council, when something says Galactic Federation of Light, when something says, oh, I'm from Arcturus, or I'm Arcturian, you have to question this, even though there is a group of beings out there that is a confederation that can also call themselves Arcturian. There was a original set of beings that we named Arcturian, and some of them came back and started using that name. I just want to put that out there. They also started to use that name to categorize their own species over a period of time. That they're more like almost like a gray type species, but they're all right. There's other races within that confederation in the Boots constellation. There's multitude of species, multitude of planets. Like the Toroth come from a planet called Cadenum, for instance. In the Pleiades, there's a planet called Maya. That's where some of the Native American looking people are, ironically enough, and that's where Mayan came from. There is 3 planets called Par, Ma, and Vu, and they are a series of Pleiadians that look kind of like Klingons. We haven't spoken to really them yet, except I did very briefly years ago. And there are a ton of Nordics. There's some that are related more to the bad guys that were partially like Orion types, and then there are some that have spread and created their own races. Lots of Nordics, lots of blonde hair, blue eyed, lots of mixed race that look like us. There's also a planet called Trison. They're known for medical, but they're not necessarily the angels of medical. They will communicate medical information to people. So people have misinterpreted them as soul doctors, or those that always heal. And I can see where that came from in the New Age community, but they help people out. They transmit codes to their life body to heal a sickness or a limb damage or something like that in your sleep if you ask them. So, but that's their job. But at the same time, they're not the only ones that categorizes that. So I always say when somebody says, "Oh, I'm a Pleiadian," which one? You gotta specify which one. "Oh, I'm Arcturian." Which one? What are you in the Boots, Hercules, Perseus? Are you Fjorgi? Are you of the planet Cadenum like the Toroth? What are you? You have to say. Or if somebody says, "I'm a Garthan," which one? Are you descendant lineage Lyran? Are you Lemurian descendant lineage Syrian tribes? Are you descendant Lemurian forest people or Anakim tribe? What are you? They have to specify. They have to specify. You cannot say, Pleiadian Council, because the thing of it is, folks, I got to break this down. Pleiadian is our word. Angel, our word. Not their word. The angel meant messenger in Hebrew. Pleiadian, I'm not quite sure of the definition of this one, but Pleiadian were the 7 sisters. That's how we categorize the Pleiadian star cluster. But there's hundreds and hundreds of different variations of species out that way. Some also in Orion, not just dark Orions. There's hundreds of different species on the outer rims of the galaxy, everything. Everybody's mixed. So if somebody says, I'm pure Nordic, that maybe at one time in history it was like that. But nobody's going to say, I'm a Nordic. That's a characterization, not a species type. Pleiadian Nordic, which one? I want to make that quite clear. And people have gotten mad at me even recently for doing this because I make them question the identity of the beings that are around them. And these beings, if they don't like it, they can take a hike because they're there to fulfill their own agenda and their own purpose. And it may not coincide with anything you had in mind at all. So just remember true benevolence and make them identify who they are and where they came from. Don't say it in a snide way, because if they're kind, you don't want to be an asshole to them, but it's just like, just make sure that they give you the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and that you feel they have an open heart space, and that they also are a benevolent species with no conflicting agendas. That is very, very important. And it's seldom that this procedure is done. Also, here's another one. Ask them if they accept an audit from True Benevolent Source Creator, True Benevolent Earth Mother, and the True Benevolent Verses. And then also if they do not have any conflicting agendas. If they answer all of this and they feel right, you always go with your first gut feeling and your intuition. If it feels all right, proceed from that point. It may seem like a lot of procedures to remember, folks, but it is absolutely necessary. So we can go on to the next one then.
Okay. People who have been off planet have a different energy signature, right? Wow, maybe that's why I'd always think kids in my grade school were so alien to me. I just muscle tested myself if I've been off planet and got a yes. We'll keep seeing if I get the same. What about any confirmation?
All right. Yes. This is definitely true. You got this from one of our other shows or Q&As. I can't remember which one. I believe it was something on the Secret Space program. This was also from Isaac here. Yes, indeed, they do here. Say dumbass here. He always uses that as a term of endearment. For example, was off-world for some time during his 20 and back. During that time, his core essence picked up a number of foreign codes and energies from around the solar system and galaxy. There's also radioactivity as well in different star radiations. I will say that too. With that said, even the clone bodies he was utilizing at that time and for that moment of time would carry those energies back to the current him, not to mention the fingerprint of the plethora of experiences that he had out there amongst the elite in space, he said. Just kidding, but the experience part, I was not kidding on. As for feeling the alien kids, some were indeed of alien lines, but it was you and your enlightened code, soul coding, sorry, he has a lot of quotes in here, and vibrations, and you came in with that and it made you seem alien to them. And this was reflected back at you. This is why you felt different, different all of your life around other people. I was the same way. You are different, but also here on a mission from God. He was making fun of basically Blues Brothers at that point. That's the images he kept putting in my head. But usually within his jokes are embedded a lot of source material. Usually if he can't say the entire thing, he will embed it in humor. And he'll say one or two words. It's like talking to Groot. So at that point where you have to understand the syntax. But the majority of this is, yes, you did a different energy signature when you've been out into space. Also, if you have a lot of altars out there, this is very, from the galactic perspective, this is kind of a controversial type subject. But we talked about this on our Patreon, where you have different altars out there that are connected to your own source coding. That are clones that are out there that have to be audited and eliminated little by little to get your energy field freed up. And what that is you're also picking up the codes and certain energy signature from that, and any possessions and attachments you have as well. But mostly it's from having been off-world, and those codes are being transmitted back to you, and that energetics is being transmitted back to you. Your soul has experienced within this expression, your essence has experienced within this expression, all of those, that plethora of experiences, You come back, even have your memory wiped, your signature is forever altered because you were an adult out there. You come back to a kid, you have 20 years more experience. And not only the brain waves that you have are now slightly different, they're emitting a different energy signature because that brain adapted over a 20-year period, whereas now you're in a brain that did not, but you're still carrying that coding. And you're in a brain that has trouble adapting and getting those memories back because it hasn't gone through that set of adaptations from child to young adult, if that makes sense. And you're put back here, you still have that signature minus some of the memories that are shoved way back into your subconscious that have to take a period of time to get recirculated, or not at all. Sometimes it doesn't happen if it's not meant to. But in some cases, it is meant to. So I think we can go on to the next one. This is going to be hard to read because this person had a lot of typos.
Okay. Is there a reason I'm compelled to carry neodymium magnets in my pockets? Isn't shungite uncorruptible?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to clear it, right? If shungite puts its frequency in water and water holds frequency, if you imbue the frequency of shungite in water and shoot a laser pointed through the water, since concentrated light can carry frequency data in it, could that create a shungite laser beam when shot through shungite water and used to clear a room by laser firing it, or protecting you from beings that can't be around shungite?
Yeah, I found this very, very fascinating. Yes, I will say this is true. And what Isaac carried on and said this, I'll say in a second. But is shungite incorruptible? Yes, from what I can see currently, it is. Negativity generally cannot come near it, or certain types of demonic entities. Since negativity is more of an embodiment or label, it is more or less like things that are allergic to the frequency, if that makes sense. You can't just blanket always say negativity, evil. It is more like things that are more abhorrent to the frequency that shungite is putting out, like salt, more abhorrent to the chemical composition and the frequency that salt puts out.
Or colored flowers. There's some entities and things that don't like to hang around those colors.
Or silver or something like that.
But shungite's frequency seems to have a pretty wide breadth of things that don't want to be in it.
And it's the most powerful, most versatile that I've run across. That is why I use it in all of my pieces. Every stone has its own thing, including crystals that you can program. But at the same time, there might be beings that can get closer to it that others cannot. That doesn't mean they can always cross it. There's certain grays that came up to its frequency and had to back away because it made them visible. And some of our devices that have magnetic frequencies made them visible. It doesn't always mean that it completely shields. It mostly, I can say, mostly to the high 98 percentile shields. There are other things that have been able to get close to it. It does stop 5G. It does stop certain radiations, but certain entities either can get slightly closer to it than other ones, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't stop them in the end. I've seen that. So we'll go into what Isaac said here. I just wanted to make that distinction. Yes, friend, you are absolutely correct. By doing this, the laser's energetic and radioactive signature is cleansed and then subsequently connected to the shungite grid, which happens to be be of a far greater power than that of the radioactive laser pointer. It's because it absorbs radiation and transmutes it, you see. Yes, I did just say that. In return, the laser then can heal what it touches, or at least aid in the healing, be it helping to get rid of the energies that do not serve you, or the poisons from the food that you have eaten. And then he goes into something really gross here in a minute. As for the neodymium magnets, when coupled with shungite, they are forced to be reckoned with. Somebody doesn't want me to say it. Just give me just a second. See, this is what happens, folks. That was aimed right at my throat. Sorry. They are forced to be reckoned with. As far as fighting negative EMF 5G is concerned, how this works is simple, really, quite elementary, in fact. The shungite absorbs the radiation and the magnet pulls it more to it. By itself, the magnet will indeed pull toxins out of the body and will as well help ground you. Put them both together, and you have a force that will not only can block, store, and transmute most forms of radioactivity, but can also help to preserve food a while longer past its die date. Not that I'm recommending what he said by eating it, by subsiding the very poisons that reside in them. With meat, however, you must see not only the fear energies of the animal at rest and the animal itself at rest in spirit, but also see the dangerous spell attached to most forms of meat permanently dispelled. Add this to the food blessing, if you do one, coupled with the magnetic device, and all will begin to turn around for you, all in that department, so to speak. He's saying in that department. You see, the bad guys, cast a very dangerous spell on meat, holding not only the fearful energies of the animal in place with the written words, but also trapped the poor animal in a limbo-like state which must be freed. Its soul fuels the fear which is held by a spell, which fuels the addictive poison, which fans the flames holding the poor creature's soul in place. Appetizing, is it not? Ha! Next question, please.
Okay.
I told you he went into gross territory, but that was also something I wanted to know too. But yeah,
Well, no, and it's just a matter of saying there is the importance of blessing your food and blessing the animals that contributed to the food in front of you for their peace and safety and spirit. So just again, he's saying if you do pray for your food and everything, just add that to it, and you may actually then see even a better difference with your digestion.
And we have an orgone
things.
piece in the fridge with it that radiates the orgone magnetic field with it. Yeah.
Okay. What happened to the Mosen and Sasquatch? Are they doing okay?
All right. Hello. They are doing just fine, except the Mosen are very busy on patrol and are having to help pick up the slack for the Sasquatch, who are not only having their people being hunted mercilessly by the out of phase military. Sorry, he does a lot of quotes, guys. But also are having programming issues within their younger adolescent crowd. This is all I can say on this subject for now. That is, next question, please. I will say I just posted something as of yesterday to our Patreon account on this very subject, on the forest people and their adolescents. It would go into too long to explain it here. Just go to our Patreon account and look for the one entitled JoJo and the Adolescent Sasquatch and Alice Forest People. You can go there. Fuma described the whole thing that was going on in great detail. What is currently going on as of now, which is 10/19/21. So this may have changed at some point in the future, which I'm hoping this has changed at some point in the future. But go ahead and check that out. The Mosen, I even saw them as of today with a show that I was filming and a partial session that I was doing, or correction that I was doing. So the Mosen and Saranan people, they were on patrol. They are helping to keep some of the draconian energies at bay, and they are helping the forest people out, not be hunted. But at the same time, they're having to go after those that were aiding cabal interests. That is more of a violation of the galactic treaties. That is also being explained on our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/thelifting, one word, that there are explanations on Galactic Federation treaties and violations therein. There's several posts that we've done on Galactic Federation, Cabal, and ICC treaties on there. It would just take way too long to explain. It's been explained in a series of videos on there if you subscribe to our Patreon. So we can go on to the next question.
Do the gnomes have computers or technological tools like Brian used here in the earthly realm, aside from being in nature?
To backstory, a friend of mine, Brian Caldwell, passed away earlier this year. He transitioned to somebody I just call Brian the Gnome, and lives in a dome enclosure in the Ozarks with his friend Les and their family. And it's a series of gnomes that are within a bubble that exists within a more of another temporal or parallel state that is right there, another frequency as well. And Brian is within that enclosure, because people, when they pass on, they can go back to their previous expression of who they were prior to incarnating as a human. And that's where Brian, he passed away, and then 2 days later, he was back to his gnome expression, one of the fastest or the fastest transition I've ever seen. So I will go on to what Isaac said. Yes, indeed, they do. They not only have a variety of booby traps at their disposal within their dimensional bubbles and parallel spaces. Sorry, he does this constantly. But they have the tech to make it possible to have created those bubbles and spaces to begin with, as well as a variety of weapons for defense, as well as a variety of suits and jewelry to protect them against earth-polluting toxins and garbage. Other groups do pretty much the same. It is just that most of the other groups of ETs have their very own styles, from suits to jewelry to just flashing oncoming traffic. He was making fun of Brian at that stage. I have no idea why at that point, but Brian and him seem to know each other and bash each other with jokes all the time. I don't know the history there, folks. I'll find out at some point. The possibilities and combinations are endless. However, the gnomes wish to make their technology look like their preferred agrarian lifestyle. If you saw it, it would look like rocks, stones, amulets, robes, and farming implements such as scythes, hammers, nails, and their very homes, clothes, and shoes. Ta-da! Hashtag the more you know. Good night, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye now. All right. He was just in the mood of bashing Brian in a joking way. When they do this to each other, they've known each other for an extremely long time. So as soon as Brian showed up after he passed away, when I got a message from his wife, Diane, who we'll eventually have on our shows as well, he showed up. Isaac automatically started inundating him with jokes like things of that nature. So I knew immediately they knew each other. So I thought that was fascinating. This is kind of small font. I'll zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you can read that, Joanna.
Just a little bit. Okay, that's too far, obviously.
Yeah.
Pull it out so it's on one screen, but pull it up.
It's hard to do. There we go. Okay, I'm going to have to scoot this over. There we go. Yeah, it's a small font, folks.
It says, hey, Chris, can you pick up any info, or if Isaac is around, what's his take on why the sky got dark in Southern California around 2:30 today, which this isn't dated.
Oh, yeah, it's dated around September 23rd.
Okay. Apparently, there was enough people inquiring about it that they actually had a news story, but it's really weird. Like the sky went from sunny and blue to dark with a yellow tinge instantly. Coverage for spacecraft distraction or something else. Maybe my mind's just on overdrive. Thanks a bunch.
Sorry, it was a bug. They get on my screen and they like things move around on the screen. Okay. The answer to this was Isaac here to tell you that the skies darkened to indeed hide UFO activity, but there were also a series of weather control events, as well as a defense grid being put in place and tested. A new design in HAARP technologies mixed with that of CERN manipulation of the Schumann resonance frequencies. You will find out eventually that some of the Kali Yuga, that's his joke right there, energies, purported to be for the highest good of the people, are anything but that of CERN and HAARP, along with Saturn and the moon. Sorry, New Agers, again. But what he's actually saying is some of these Schumann resonance frequencies that are considered to be sacred and holy, that are bouncing all over the damn place, are anything but. There are beneficial things to it where it spikes and you get really good downloads. But at the same time, I've noticed when it's level, I get more downloads than ever when it's violent and when your brain and thoughts are all over the place. There is manipulation going on by CERN through the ground and HAARP from the sky, and also UFO activities and this defense grid that they're putting up. What also came from the session that I did with this person prior to that is where this person, I won't go completely into it. I will see if she'll let me post this at some point. I won't go completely into it, but in a dream sequence, she ended up in a future time frame, whereas California was back to an agrarian type society, and people in, I believe it was the late 2100s or something like that. It was like 140 years from now, where the people that were left were not using the same technologies. They were using technology, but it was more like galactic technology, and there were less people that lived in that time frame. In between there, when I was scanning the timeline, there was this blackening of the sky, and things exploded at some point, and concrete and stuff flying everywhere. Some workers picked up some concrete, and California returned to an agrarian society. That's it in a nutshell right there, over a 140-year period. Not that I'm saying that's locked in. I'm just saying that's what happened also prior to this person reporting this Southern California where the skies were darkening. It did it in the exact same way that I had seen it. I'm not gloating. I'm just saying that it was relatively the same as what I'm seeing. And Isaac is saying this has to do with tests of a defense grid, HAARP, and CERN. So that's what I'm actually getting at right there. We can go on to the next one now. Here we go.
Okay. What do you mean by overage?
This is actually a very, very good question. I brought this up multiple times. What you hear me say overage all the time. Overage is what is outside of the lesson, meaning lesson, what you learn from life, what you learn from negative experiences constantly bombarding you. The repetition of struggle and negativity when the lesson has already been learned. The constant targeting, despite the fact that targeting has been recognized. Though one could say that the lesson has not been learned if the struggles continue, I personally beg to differ. How many times must one learn about pain and suffering? If I caused it in a past life or past expression, once knowing about it, it is supposed to course correct itself. And it is supposed to basically evaporate at that point. If it continues on, you learning about what pain and suffering looks like, either A, you have more karmic baggage, or B, it is overage. If it is constant and repetitious like a frigging hamster wheel, that's overage, folks. That is abuse. That is outside of the lesson. You already know what pain and suffering looks like, folks. What do you need to learn about it more at that stage? That's what I define overage to be.
And really what, adding to that, if it appears that your attempt to expand and with more knowledge is constantly stifled, and that there's often overage applied in order to stifle someone's journey. So that kind
of put them in a hamster wheel, essentially.
Right. So that also would be a part of it as well.
Yeah, and man, they're hitting really hard. They made me bite my own tongue and my jaw slipped. Man, that is really nasty, folks. Yeah, you'll see when we get into stuff like this, it little accidents like that happen.
So again, this becomes very important to the one question that we spent a lot of time on before, which has to do with, usually at the time when someone's having extreme overage and really in an uncomfortable way, that's when they're oftentimes reaching out for a guide or for someone to intervene.
Yeah.
So this is again where it is so important for you to be very specific on what you want to come in,
yes,
which is again benevolence for your highest good with no conflicting agenda. And you really want to make sure, because this is the exact same time they would want to continue overage by when you're calling out for something that they're going to put into play to keep the overage going.
Yes.
So just remember, it's a strategy that's used. And so you break out of the strategy with more knowledge and understanding to be very specific on what you're trying to bring in at the moment.
Yes, that is very, very important here, folks. And this was, even though it was one of the shortest questions, it was one of the most meaningful right here, in my opinion. So go on to the next one. Oh man, of course that font is humongous. Okay, this was actually more of a comment. I think I'll read this one. This had more of an implied question on this, and there's a little bit of a question here. In the Galactic Interstellar Council After Show number 74, Nalin and the Worldwide Communications Crew. She hasn't heard this one yet, so this is why I'll read this one. There was a being that was communicating through a facility in South Africa that was communicating through technology. And this person said, I appreciate the access afforded by channeling, but could we not hear the being's name was Nalin's actual voice? A recorded phone call, perhaps? And that is a very fair question. If you're using technology, why can't I hear you on my cell phone or on the internet? Or why can't you post something or something like that? Very fair question. And this is how I answered it. I would love this myself, but channeling is a known treaty loophole all galactics can use. Also, on occasion, they do call or run into us in public spaces or public places. We have heard from them unknowingly to us several times, both in person and on the phone, but did not know it always was them until later. Isaac has been one of the only exceptions that I knew at the moment of seeing him and communicating with him of who he was. He was literally the only exception at that point. That and when you met Thomas in Raleigh, that was except he still was going the route of, oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong person type of thing. Isaac identified himself immediately. And so he's violated the rules to a certain extent, folks, but that is not the norm. I just want to say that is not the norm. And any people that they're saying, and I hate to say this, I am so sorry to contact these, any people that are saying that on a regular basis, that they're having contact with these aliens, not having their memory wiped, and they're meeting them at their home on a regular basis. I'm sorry, folks, this just doesn't happen that way. There's too many rules and treaties in place. They would get in major deep doo-doo if they continued to do this.
Well, if they were benevolent.
If they were benevolent, negative ones that have contracts with the government to do so, absolutely, all day long. They will pull that charade to the very last breath there. So I also went on to say, he said, the person said, thanks, makes sense. I also said another loophole is through the ghost box or spirit box, whereas they can pose as ghosts or other beings, positive or negative, to get a message out as well. Choppy, but it works. Military has done this. Cabal has done this. Isaac has done this. Our friends Elena and Vesa have done this, and a variety of other good and not so good beings and people have done this through the ghost box. Using that too much can open portals and all this. You've heard us talk about this before. But the point of this part of the show that I'm making is these are all loopholes they're using to get around the galactic treaties that our government has with the Galactic Federation, ICC, Cabal, Nazis, any of all those things that are happening out there. All the alien races have treaties with each other. And if anyone goes outside of this that is not part of the treaties, they will be extracted and you won't actually hear from them anymore. So they find all these loopholes, these political galactic loopholes to communicate. And again, on our Patreon, we have stuff that describes these treaties in pretty good detail. But yeah, this is what I wanted to get at from that particular set of communications. Yes, I've actually been communicated on the phone with a galactic before, but did not know it until after the fact. And there was a loophole there as well. So I'll go on to the next question.
Okay, the next question is, how can you recognize a programmed being? And I assume you wouldn't want one as a close friend or mate, correct?
No, you really wouldn't, especially an inborn. This is Isaac saying this, and I made a comment afterwards here. Hi, my dear. Isaac here to answer this most poignant of questions. For one, anyone can be or have a bit of programming, be it from family indoctrination or other childhood or past life junk passed down into the genetic memory. However, the type that you mean is the Mr. Smith kind of programming, whereas these people mimic closely the very same traits from person to person, or programming drops into them, like you see Mr. Smith in The Matrix, where he drops into the people and tries to attack Neo at the very end of the first movie. Very, very poignant right there. Dropped in by negative telepathy, AI, and ghost empathic transference, which can also create an entanglement by which other negative entities can harm you as well. If a ghost is empathically transferring and entangling, that is very, very important to know as well. That's why that has to be closely watched as well. Whereas someone will mimic closely a passed on individual who has not yet transitioned. That also happens. the person you're living with will mimic that person in voice, sound, syntax, grammar, all of it, and words, verbalizations, mannerisms. The program person, who can also be a fellow alien or military abductee as well, will exhibit traits of unstable aggression around high intense magnetic fields, energy fields, and even focused affection toward them. Some strangers to you will follow the same patterns, as well as any previously seen programmed person, such as the same phrases, mannerisms, and breathing issues, such as if a higher frequency that butts up against the programming's lower frequency will affect the heart and nervous system, causing the person to instantly jump up and breathe hard repeatedly and pace around. When the aliens abduct people and place scripted character traits within them, the brain map the very same traits. They brain map the very same traits across the board, meaning they mirror it. This is why mirroring is a very powerful tool to use against them as well in spell work. The most common of all these is the lack of blood to the brain and or the deer to the headlights look. This is a common occurrence aside from pure aggression, which when frequencies clash, and I mean hard, when they clash together, this causes like a higher frequency affecting a lower frequency, it automatically starts to unwrite or unhinge the programming. And they will either act with aggression or just do this. This is something that I've seen quite prolifically. The breathing issues thing is very, very interesting. This is, I will read what I've said here, and then I'll go a little further. This is what he just said. What he just said does not apply to meditative breathing techniques, whereas breathing is essential to the stillness and the purging of all that does not serve, including programming. One other type he did not mention is a concept I refer to as inborns, whereas the programming is installed pre-birth to be obedient to the cabal agenda or whoever made the programming, whereas these people get strengthened by the adoration of others. Ridicule agents are another. For more information on these, watch our show entitled Changers and Anti-Changers.
And I think you said adoration, but it really is any attention, positive or negative.
Yeah, positive or negative.
So yeah, adoration, you know, could
or
be,
veneration, or even negative thoughts towards some hatred.
Even a fight or something. It just energizes them to go. So it's not just one type. And
what I meant also by the where they jump up and breathe a little bit and pace around. I saw this specific mannerism displayed in a video game years ago. In the game Skyrim, there is a character by the name of Ulfric Stormcloak, and he is an abductee. The aliens in the game series abduct him, program him, put him back out in society to cause a for and against. These people will cause for and against exactly like this. They're pre-programmed to script out a conflict or one half of a conflict where somebody else, a leader of someone else, scripts out another half of a conflict or has to defend against this, therefore giving them attention, therefore creating more of the conflict instead of ignoring them like they're supposed to. Or allowing it to pass like they're supposed to. What this character did when he was confronted by common sense, by logic, he immediately jumped up and went and paced around the room. This is exactly the mannerism I'm talking about. I have seen this happen multiple times. This does not mean it's every time. Some people might be just trying to blow off steam or trying to breathe out the negativity. I'm just saying I have seen this breathing pacing thing happen multiple times in somebody that cannot process what you've just said or your energies that are in the room disrupting that programming they've been instilled with. It's a perfect example in the video game. I called it the Stormcloak effect because of that specific type of mannerism that pops up. And you know damn well the writers knew when they put that in there. But as we said, more information about inborns, we do have the episode Changers and Anti-Changers.
And probably one of the big things to remember in these types of situations, because frequencies are changing so rapidly in people. So you may find that you just being around certain people seems
to unhinge them.
To unhinge them. And, you know, again, if you're a type of person who's like, wow, I'm really just here. I really respect everybody. Why is this happening? Why am I having such a hard time with people? What can I do? You're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything wrong.
You're just being yourself, and people are reacting again to a frequency that's trying to break something down in them. One of the key things about this is to not engage, which sounds almost counterintuitive when you're supposed to, let's say, assert yourself, or you're supposed to stand in your truth. Well, stand in your truth and your frequency in a sense. But part, again, when you're dealing with certain people, is you must remember that if you engage in them in a certain way, you're powering them. So to not engage basically, and to basically in your mind, I'm not playing this game, I'll just sit here in neutral if I have to, is probably going to irritate the crap out of somebody even more. But part of it is to hook you into an engagement of something that will not be for your highest good. So part of the skill that a person like yourself is actually learning is when to assert, when to not engage. You have to learn these things. What is for your highest good? And learning that particular skill, okay, will keep you out of a lot of uncomfortable situations. But somebody who's actually in program will probably even go after the fact that they will try to state that your non-engagement is something that it isn't. They'll
try to fish to get a response.
Right. So they're going to maybe accuse you of not caring, or accuse you of whatever it is. Again, a lot of this is the attempt to try to engage you into something, because if they're doing this around you, part of the programming is about engaging you in something that is probably not for your highest good.
Yes. And also, here's another one that will probably throw some people for a loop. I don't know how many people have noticed this. This falls more specifically under the alien abduction category. We were in a cell phone store one time. This was quite some time ago. There's a reason I don't go into these places, folks, because the programming and others tends to trigger me. So that's a trait of mine, where I get triggered by people that are falling into this, and I have not at that particular moment. And it starts to trigger something that was put in me to fight with them. So what happened is this, you've probably seen this 1,000 times in some of these stores. Like if you were to slip, even in joking jest form, and say a curse word or anything that remotely would sound like a threat or anything like that, these people automatically will stand at attention, not look at you, they'll look straight ahead. And, sir, we can no longer help you. You have initiated a threat or set a threat. Like they're in the military, they'll automatically go to attention like it's a pre-programmed Manchurian candidate sort of thing. And the military does this, the aliens do this, where they get people to do this. And I have seen this happen at cell phone stores, electronic places, time and time again over several years now, over a decade. I've seen this set of mannerisms and behavior. This is a pre-programmed set of mannerisms, whereas when a certain set of words are triggered, they can't handle, like if you said shit or fuck or something like that, people on phone lines are the same way, where they'll automatically get triggered. Sir, the language, they'll do this. This is another pre-programmed set of behaviors and mannerisms. Even if you mean something passive by it, like you're talking like that, or you have maybe a crass sense of humor or something like it, or something morbid. Other pre-programmed mannerisms is they'll slink away. But the more common one is what this guy did. He just stood at attention, put the phone down, stood at attention, and you could have done this. And that kind of behavior is a trigger for me. That's something I've had to work on. But even more surprising was the odor that came out of this. And I was just speaking about this with somebody the other day, a couple of days ago. Whereas an alien abductee will sometimes have a faint odor, if you can catch this, of ammonia. And also, if somebody has a program that has been inserted by aliens on a hypnotic level, on a mental level, or a brain map scripting level, where it alters the brain chemistry, you will begin to smell the very smell that the energetics is putting off, or it's coming out of the skin pores, out of their personage, and it smells like ammonia because those damn grays stink of ammonia in their laboratories. It smells of it, it reeks of it. This person had a faint odor, very, very faint odor. When they fell into program mode, they automatically started to emit this smell of ammonia. Watch for this, folks. I've seen it pop up multiple times in multiple situations and did not correlate them together until that day at that cell phone store. I believe that's why this took place. So I would notice the smell visual association. But when the aliens are around, they stink of it. When they touch you, you start to stink of it. So people that have been abducted, on occasion, if you catch them at the right moment, you can smell this almost on top. It's mixed with their body odor if they haven't bathed or something. It's a smell of ammonia, and it's around these aliens. It's like the little robots are made with it or something. I don't know if it lubricates them or if it's on them in some fashion or if it's in the laboratory. But also when the brain chemistry is altered to emit the programming, the skin of the person begins to sweat it out, and you smell it within their body odor, you smell it within the sweat. And that it's very faint. You have to be in the right set of conditions to catch this. I'm hoping other people can catch this. This is a sign of alien abduction, folks. This is purely a sign of alien abduction and implanted programming to a person that was put in your way to automatically cause a fight. And they're more than likely, to enhance the smell, there's more than likely an alien standing in that room like a gray to cause this. A friend of ours also said he saw an alien sitting in a police car one time, a gray alien when he drove by, a small, short, little robotic looking gray alien that was in the passenger seat of a squad car trying to get a cop to fight with somebody on the street. And when he went by, flipped the alien off, the alien was surprised he could see him vanish. The fight stopped. I guarantee you the inside of that squad car stunk of ammonia. Also, when they disappear and reappear, there seems to be a smell within the reappearing, disappearing act they do as well. I smelled that time and again, as well as other instances where they're trying to generate fights. There's also other satyr type beings that generate fights like this, but specifically more so the aliens themselves or these robotic beings, whether they're government generated or alien generated. This smell is constantly present. So this is another trait. If like say if you're getting into a fight with somebody, you're living in an apartment house or something like that, and they exhibit all these traits and you begin to smell that, they've been abducted by aliens, folks. That's pure and simple. The brain mapping has taken place, and now they have to weed those traits out. Since these aliens, of course, aren't going to do it for them, you have to rise above the programming and burn it out. And so most people don't even know they're doing it. They'll either fall in the deer in headlights, standing at attention, and they'll say a standard preset text or something that goes with it that they've probably been trained with by their job or something like this. See, the aliens can't get to everybody, the government can't get to everybody, hence you're seeing stuff on TV hypnotizing people. You're seeing now kids being indoctrinated in schools with like critical race theory, all these other things. The aliens can't get to every single person all the time at every single moment. So what are they doing? They're blanketing everybody, and it is a big distraction, of course, against the disclosure and all that other stuff. But at the same time, these things are more than likely happening to people in those situations, are being abducted, put back down to cause chaos within a scenario. But in a nutshell, watch for the smell. This has been coming up repeatedly. So I believe that was the last question there.
You sure?
Yeah, that is the very last one. I think. No, we got a couple more. Sorry, folks.
Okay. Wow. How in the world would the Apache tribe get the knowledge and technology to vibrate into their own pocket? Did they flip on their crystalline DNA? I hope they can explain how they went from a human tribe with all those normal troubles we deal with into an ascended state of being separate from the cesspool. Not sure the pics explain that either. But it doesn't seem normal to me that groups of people can just poof out of the game and become advanced telepathically and live some extra hundreds of years. Big gap in the library there. The rest of us are trying to push the entire human race out of the cesspool and collapse the whole thing in order to begin that process. That's great for them that they could, but I thought they were just like us.
This is actually more of an addendum question from our Patreon. Questions come through the Patreon as well that will serve on a question and answer show. What it was an interstellar council, whereas the Apache group led by Geronimo had their own separate culture within their own bubble here, still within Arizona. Even Geronimo seeing his own capture, a version of him was still within this bubble in a quantum type of situation. This is what this person was referring to. And Isaac went into it. I thought he said it really, really best. If you want more context into this, again, Patreon. There are a number of different galactics that have come through talking about the bubble system and different quantum fissures, bubbles, and streams and frequencies that these and layers that these beings live within, and all these bubbles communicate with one another. There's one west of Vegas called Ver, where it's like Vegas. You heard us talking about that on our Patreon. There's one in Scotland. We just noticed the Scottish village. There's one that's the New Camelot. There is the one the Apache are in. Apparently, the Mayans have one in the Grand Canyon. I didn't know about. And there's one in Africa, I believe, and there's a couple of them in Europe, several in Europe that going clear into Ireland, which the elves of the Lord of the Rings exist in. There's also a dimensional pocket known as Tirnanoke, where there's a collection of elves as well. So I will go into what he has said. Okay. Hi, other dumbass, saying that to the person who asked the question. He only says that when he knows the person. Same as them here is calling us dumbasses. Isaac here to explain a bit more about pockets. When a tribe decides to shift into another frequency, they will do so by not only just continuing to live their life in the moment, but have someone who has advanced tech to help them do so. So it is a collaboration. This works usually by them asking someone for help, or the people are guided by spirit to a brand new location. Sometimes that actually worked against their favor. We noticed some tribes of Indians here moved away from an area that they should have stayed. That was more Orion influence and Draconian influence. Whereas they have entered a pocket reality where they actually travel to a pocket reality as well. Tagarin of the Scottish village, for instance, was already a galactic in the flesh and preferred his lifestyle choice to stay the same and never change. He did not want to move, so he shifted himself to the right place as it were, taking Brigadoon, that was a joke, with him. The plot to Brigadoon was a Scottish village that disappeared into the fog, so he was basically making that reference. He also has a ring that helped him do so. One of magical powers and history, very similar to King Solomon's ring, was for capturing jinn. The forest people, at least the Anakam kind, like Fuma, Simar, and Levik, were able to shift the whole tribe into an alternate state, making it so that they still stayed on their ancestral homeland, as well as were captured by Nelson Appleton Miles's people. Sorry, Chris, that was a past life of mine, by the way. I said this also on the after show as well, that had to do with the Apache. Simar came in and spoke about what had taken place. Fairies have done the same, as well as other elemental and galactic peoples. Not all beings come from these pockets, though. Some are from other frequencies and dimensional holographic layers. Hope this explains the concept well. Isaac out, and I went on to go on a little bit further. I also feel as though they are advanced by other galactic embedded them into their society. There's a galactic member with them in their tribe. One that would have access to a library node to upload knowledge to the individual, also preserving their cultural identity. The Dogman tribes have tried this for their lesser advanced cousins, as well as the Anakam trying to reclaim their face eater cousins, as well as teach with the same technology the younger adolescents of their people the ways of the past. This technological concept was introduced on the show Stargate Atlantis, whereas the knowledge of the ancients was saved in a large computer to upload to anyone who came across it. as well as a genetic map on how to ascend, so to speak. Agarthan tribes guard of these library nodes, as well as the forest people, elemental people, and elemental peoples and dogman tribes. For more information on this concept, again, watch the Galactic Interstellar Council and the after show exclusively for now anyhow on Patreon, as well as check out a meme I posted on my Facebook account entitled The Shasta Effect, and its accompanying video on our YouTube account.
So this is going to actually start to show itself in our human reality here, at least, our version of attempting to do this, when there are going to be, and there are currently, smaller groups of people that are in a community that have decided to live how they want to live and do not let the politicalness and different things affect them.
Mhm.
So one instance of that could be the Amish community that have decided that they are going to run their lives in a certain way. So you enter into where they are, and life is completely different. It was a running joke that you'd see no Amish who got COVID, right? None of that affected them.
Because they didn't watch television.
Because they didn't watch television. So again, I think in the concept of what are, because it's great to listen to this, but unless you've got a galactic, in your pocket that's right around from you, it's like, well, why are we talking about this? Because we're stuck here in this hellish place right now. But I think part of, again, the human co-creative being and growing that way is actually people will gather in a way that start to live their lives in a way that seem to be removed from the issues that are affecting so many different places. It is happening in some small areas right now where enough like-minded people. So you have a lot of like-minded people in a co-creative way pulling their energies together to cause a really nice town or a really nice place where all seem to be doing well. We support one another. We do this. That in and of itself becomes a little bit of a pocket reality compared to the rest of the world. People are shifting in mass right now to certain states, thinking that their reality is slightly different from the rest of the reality. And that those places are trying to break away from certain things that are going on.
Yeah,
so
like a breakaway civilization.
Right. So again, I just want to say that, the humans in general are such co-creative beings. It doesn't mean that this is not meant that things like this and more sacred spaces where people have the like-mindedness to want to create a safe bubble aren't happening, because they are. I think in this one, it was the extreme, literally removed, that no one sees them. But I don't want to call it a lesser version, maybe a version that isn't seen as extreme, is these pockets are actually starting to occur here just within the human communities as well.
Yeah, just like one of them was the lost tribes of Israel. They drifted into their own pocket as well. They weren't really lost, they just weren't seen anymore. Also, I was seeing in my head, as you were talking about the Amish, where they were making the same request the natives did of the forest people to somebody. I was taking the place of the somebody. And where they were going, well, we want to be able to exist this way. And I heard the person mouthing, well, what if you could? And so they would be another civilization to do that. The Martian Germans, well, I've been told will eventually do this, but now there is something also I have to warn against. I will post a recording on this that Ryan and I did today. I was asked to please take this recorded snippet and put it up as well. I'll do that soon. Or more than likely have done it by the time you've seen this. Whereas there is a separatist group here on the planet that is separate from white hats, dark hats, cabal, any Nazi, anything. And they are ones that will shoot down aliens, try to liberate the humans that are on ships, kill all the aliens, and basically try to assimilate the humans into their group or repatriate them to where they came from. They're essentially pirates. They'll steal the tech. I was warned about Earth pirates, and I didn't know what I was being told about. It's a separatist Earth first, human first, where they want to close Earth down to the galactic community and just have Earth for humans. And this was accurately depicted on the show Star Trek Enterprise, I believe in season 3. I will actually add that recording to our YouTube that me and Ryan did, which he says it's fine to do so. So I'll put that up because it was very meaningful what was spoken about. And I've seen where these beings can actually take a cannon and shoot at a ship and board the interior of the ship that way, get rid of all the aliens, repatriate the humans, or try to assimilate them into their organization. Essentially, they're another radical group that exists on the planet, and unfortunately, they are actually becoming a problem. So again, accurately depicted in Star Trek Enterprise season 3. I don't want to be quoted on that. I think it's 3. It's been many years since I've seen it, but that's where that was at. And also, I want to say when you said galactic in your pocket, Isaac was just roaring over here. So that's his level of sense of humor. He was reminding me that there was a toy out years ago called Monster in my pocket. So, and he means that totally different than what was actually created. You can use your imagination. So I believe we're good at this point. If you have anything else to add, Joanna?
No, I hope you guys have enjoyed all of these different questions, and keep sending them to us in whatever form, either through the lifting or through Patreon or through comments at the end of shows. We try to scan these every now and then to try.
It's difficult, but we try to get them. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if we missed your question, we really are sorry. Like I said, we had a very long Q&A that was destroyed basically. Yeah. And so we're sorry about that, but keep sending them in and we'll do our best to get these out on a more regular basis.
Yes, and it was completely unexpected what happened. The military decided it was time to try to fire something at my computer, and it caused a lot of heartache. And it was not like I've said in other recordings, almost like losing a child. So it's like not to compare it to that, but that's kind of how it felt. So with the loss of the information, but I remembered 9/10 of it anyway. For this. So now we can end this here. So thank you everyone for watching this Q&A episode. It's been a long time coming. Keep your questions coming in, as she said, through the necessary mediums, through Facebook, YouTube, email. We've been having a lot of problems with. So more than likely I'll get it if you go through, if you're on the Patreon, do it there. YouTube, do it there. Facebook, do it there.
Oh, so I'm going to add one last question because there are some specific people out there right now. And the question would be, why are you never answering my emails? What we're finding out, again, people, if you are sending us things, especially if it's for requests for sessions and different things, and you are never getting a reply, you need to check your spam. You need to check your trash or whatever, where things get accidentally shifted into. Sometimes it's done automatically without your knowledge, because if Chris could maybe text you if you sent a phone number, but if all you're sending and all we have is an email address, and we're trying and you're never getting it, it will never resolve itself.
And we keep getting emails saying, why aren't you responding? In some cases, I've responded at least a dozen times.
Yeah, so please, if you are trying and you're never, then you may want to include a phone number that you can be text to remind you to maybe check your spam or other folders, because it may not be that we're ignoring you at all. It may just be that the communication method doesn't seem to be working. So I just want to put that out there, because I know there are a couple very frustrated people, but our hands are tied if all we have to go with is with an email that for whatever reason you're not getting emails from us, or it's in one of your different folders.
Yeah, that's important to remember, folks. This has been happening very prolifically lately. And it's becoming a very big irritant on this end. So Facebook, I seem to get it.
But you don't really, again, he does not want people requesting reads on Facebook.
Yeah, because I will lose them more easily than if
Right.
she sees them on the email.
I'm just
So,
saying,
yeah.
you may want to make sure you also include a way that you could be texted.
Yeah, include a phone number so that you can
or your Facebook, whatever. Any, just include other ways of communication. If it seems we're having a problem, then we can get back to you another way. But if you don't do that, then we may be stuck in a little loop for a long while or until you give up.
Yes, but primarily try the email first, always. So I believe we can go in there now. So thank you everybody for watching this. Good night, folks.
Hello. I want to point something out. This goes along the lines with the manifestation show that you've seen. It's good that I wait to edit these because other things come up. This is actually quite interesting. You heard me mention on Interstellar Council that we had somebody walk away from us again, which that is essentially the splitting of the densities. Well, this person ended up being yet another agent that was watching us. And this time, what happened was this person accused me of attacking them, being very angry with them, attacking them until he sent money to me, which he sent silver to me, which was completely untrue. And I will publicly say that right now. Untrue. What resulted in happening is I found out what truly took place. The forest people, at least the elders, not the young ones that are sketchy. I'll get into that in a different video. But the elders like Fuma, Seymour, Elder Line, and Nakam Line, like Sufas, Atalatic, Faradas, those type. What happened was they were the ones that were showing anger towards him until he sent that silver to me, which was a sizable amount. I'm not going to go into the number, which I was shocked, surprised, and a little taken aback, but at the same time accepted graciously, and I'll tell you why. Fuma came to me the other day as I was working on the garage. They help with the orgone pieces and advise how much not to have in the house, what to put in something. They help with the formulas sometimes. A lot, in fact. They're a great help. But what took place was I asked Fuma. I figured he was the person to ask this. I said, what do I do about the silver? Also worried about, not necessarily entanglements, because silver can't get any, or it wouldn't be a good protection metal. But the numbers and all this other stuff, the energetic exchange type of thing from somebody who was very malicious and nasty to us. He said, and I quote, accept it graciously and move on. Which that gave me cool, and then he asked me if I got it, what he was saying. What he did was it was them, the elder forest people, that got this person to send all of that silver as more of a, I want to say an energetic exchange, but what some of these elementals will do, and you've heard me talk about this on multiple occasions, where if you help them out in some way, they will pay you back by leaving money in your path. But yet, they have to take it from somebody they don't like. Sasquatches are no different. They're an elemental too. Essentially a gigantic fairy or gnome. So, well, like us, I suppose you could say we're the same, because we're related. Both elemental and galactic, alike. This pile of silver bars, which were about that thick, mind you, sent those to me, along with some salt, which I used the salt on the property because it was something that was needed here at the time. This would be it right here. Right here. That was needed at the time. And so it was exactly what was needed. So, for a specific problem. What they were doing was protecting us from this individual because of this agent status. But since they turned out not to like this person, they did this to the other people we were doing business with back in 2019, 2 sets of them, in fact. And this other person in Washington State, they basically destroyed his septic system and destroyed the toilet inside of this trailer that he had. And when we asked them why they did it, they said because the guy was full of shit. And they were trying to get us away from them. They were doing no different than with this other guy in New York State. What happened was they were making him so mad at me so he'd separate from me, knowing that I would not actually do something. They took that route just to separate him from me, then got him to send his silver supply to me, saying it was a gracious gift, accept it, move on. Essentially, they were saying it was a gift. But they still had to take it from one place and give it to me. It goes from one place to another. It's not like they poofed it out of thin air. And this happens, like I said, with elementals. Why is this part of the manifestation? Is because we are striving to go become the proper manifestation, to bring in abundance, proper abundance. We have become that path. And they showed their appreciation for that by taking something from a potential threat of an enemy that would have, if this should all reset and go to silver and gold standard, would have had substantial amounts of money from that. Enough to keep going, doing whatever the laned mission that particular person was on. Lane meaning false lane, meaning government, not soul lane. Or unless that is the soul lane and that soul was just there to experience that. You can view it either way. It's usually the latter. But in this case, it got sent to us. And now we have it. And there are no entanglements or no debts to be repaid energetically or anything like that. And that goes also to energetic debts or energetic exchanges. You don't you can just accept a gift graciously. You don't always have to counterbalance it with something else or think you have to counterbalance it. Sometimes that's just a manifestation and you leave it at that. You've manifested that abundance. Yes, you can give it to somebody, of course, but you can also put it to good in your own life. You don't automatically have to give it to somebody. That's it's not a no-no, but you don't need to do that. People are always under the impression it's like, oh no, I can't be selfish, I can't keep it. Of course you can. Of course you can, especially if you need it. You don't have to always give it away. I knew of somebody that won the lottery, won a lot of money, and gave it all to charity, and then he's living in squalor. You were never meant to live in squalor, folks. You're never meant to live in squalor like that. Thinking that, oh, I'm not supposed to keep this, only greedy rich people keep this. No, good people can put it to good use. You don't have to give it all away just because the Bible told you to. Just like that tale of Jesus and the people who put a few coins in the well, and the woman who put only everything she had into the well. And Jesus then said she was getting it back in a different way. Yeah, that works. Yeah, abundance comes in many forms. Just like we give a lot of orgone pieces away and we get that abundance back in a different way. It's not necessarily as monetarily. But in this particular instance, yeah, I don't buy into that tale with Jesus, by the way. I don't want people to think that I've gone biblical. But I'm just saying, you don't always have to throw everything in. You can dice it up as you see fit and manifest it how you see fit. And you're still getting that even energetic balance either way, as long as you're doing good with it. Even if you keep it, and you know you're going to need it at some point, your intuition tells you you're going to need it. Why give it away? But if your intuition is telling you that you're supposed to do something with it at that moment, of course, don't go with an indoctrinated belief. Go with your intuitive side. If you're supposed to give it away, don't get coerced by indoctrination or by a voice whispering in your ear telepathically to do it, because there are beings out there that will try to tell you, hey, you're not supposed to keep all this money. You're not supposed to do it. That's selfish. No. Give yourself permission to be selfish, but for the right reasons. Selfish can be viewed a couple different ways, as bad or as good. Bad, everybody knows that, oh, you're being selfish, self-centered, or selfish as in you're taking care of yourself. So, I just wanted to add that because that's something profound that happened recently, a good thing. So, I wanted to make sure this was told. And if this person is listening to this, just know you were intricately part of correcting things energetically, along with myself. But at the same time, you also didn't understand that that wasn't me. They just made themselves look like me so that they could get that silver out of you and send it my way as a form of energetic exchange and to get me away from yourself. That is, if you're hearing this. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. This is what took place. If you even hear this at all. That is, even if you're connecting to this channel at all. So, that was a message for that specific person. And that is the last one that he will ever get. So, that said, I believe I covered it. So, thank you, everybody. I know that, again, there's a lot of these videos at the ends of these shows, but they are for a reason. When I come up with something I've forgotten, and I've explained this before in Q&As and in on other shows, the things come up that needed to be added. This is one of them. Also, there are those skull devices, those Lux skulls I told you about, also had money coding in placed in them, and also religious iconography that it was canceling out within those as well. So this also helped with abundance because it was starting to cancel out the negative coding in money. So this also aided in that manifestation. So with that said, I will call it here. It is 5:33 p.m. Saturday, October 9th, 2021. Thank you. Hello. I'm having to re-record some things here. I will go into an idea that was brought forth to me. I had a hard time translating it the first time. Maybe I'll have a better chance of doing it this time. There is a concept out there, of channelers, where they put themselves fully into the channel, like they do a complete swap out. And I don't do this. I do it differently than others. People have accused me of late of, and in earlier times when I first started, of being able to come out of it, in and out of it very quickly, like you see me do. And they're saying, oh, that's impossible. You have to have a prep time. But that's for people that fully go into it. I don't swap out like that because of the fact that it is very taxing, and if I were to get it wrong, even for a nanosecond, a being could swap out permanently. I'm screwed. So I do the half-half method. You're speaking to both of us. So if I don't comprehend something that someone's asked, it's on the comprehension of the person, the channeler, not always the being in the half-half state. So if it's a term I don't understand, or if it's a language barrier, language barriers are rare, because my brain translates it pretty easily. But if it's another language, especially if it's an earthly language, it will, like German or Native American or Chinese or Japanese or something. But what is going on when they do the complete swap out? You're seeing that being fully, and another person, or that other person is where that other being was in their body. And that's a very dangerous technique, because I had this happen years ago, where some negative beings completely took me over and controlled my body for a short time, and there were some beings, I believe the forest people were helping at that time, or other beings, good beings, that they managed to put me back before any harm could be done. And that was before I knew any protective measures. That was pre-accident. That was years before. Even though I was doing channeling then, it was unprotected. It was like being nude next to a nuclear reactor. I was reckless then with it. In my adolescent years, that is. That's how I learned what not to do now. But the point I'm getting at is, if I don't comprehend something, my brain will either try to fill it in with a similar term, similar concept, or there'll be a decoding error or an encoding error to where I won't be able to answer the question, or I won't be able to bring that through, because it's part of either an intellect that's much greater, much more expansive than my brain, or an energy that's much more expansive that my energy is trying to decode it, my brain's trying to decode it into something I would understand. If I don't understand it, they may choose to use simple terminology, or they just won't say it, or it won't happen. So, like, also validation with certain beings or dead relatives. If somebody goes, "What's in my pocket?" And if I don't know, and if I'm viewing it, I'm only seeing a certain perspective of it, I'm not going to always see the whole thing, unless I'm attuned to a certain set of frequency wavelengths, like when I look into some of the military stuff and getting rid of bad guys, things of that nature. But like if I'm channeling a being, that I'm doing the half-half, where I have my foot in two worlds. Whereas it's both of us that are speaking. It's not just who I'm bringing in. It's me and them. I want to make that clear. And there's a bridge between the two where there can be decoding errors depending on the compatibility of the different energies, brain waves, intellects, intellectual biases, misgivings. And there's that dog again. But the decoding of, say, if there's biases, intellectual misgivings, prejudices, or even heightened emotions, that can also cause decoding errors. For those that are swapping out completely, you're not getting any of that. Except if the brain can't completely hold all of it, you'll get some of it. But it's much, much less. With me, the reason I can come in and out of a channel so quickly is because of the half and half state. So like I said, you're speaking to both of us, but I have to keep my eyes closed, as other channelers do, because the visuals, like if there's a flashing light, or if there's some kind of color variance or visual stimulus, it could kick you out of it at any time. Or if there's electricity that you're looking at, like a lightning burst or something like that, and that can happen with eyes closed too, but you get the idea. Like if there's, like, say, a bird that flies by and flutters their wings, or if there's a color flash, or if a leaf is blowing or something, depending on the sensitivity of the energies and depending on the chaoticness of the energies or the calmness of the energies. It depends. There's a chaotic soup going on, as you always hear us say, depending on what thought forms are around. As you see when we're doing the Interstellar Council, I would say it's easier to do the after show than the Interstellar Council, because there's so many minds focused on the live show in first and second hour. And then you've heard me say that in the after show if you have the subscription to the Patreon. But my point is, I'm not, and some people have accused me of doing it as a fake because I jump in and out too quickly, like almost like a method actor. You know, actually, I don't do the other twitching and all this other stuff like some do, and I don't do like the whole method acting type of thing like some do. I'm not saying they're acting, but that's what it would look like to somebody who's unaware of the processes. Sometimes I'll go in and out like I've done something like that, but very quickly, and people have accused me of it being a fake. Not that I have let that get to me, but I wanted that to be a question for the Q&A. Now that we've had to replace the Q&A after the computer apocalypse, which was fairly upsetting. It's like mourning a child when something like that happens. So we are trying to rebuild at least some of the damaged structure. It wasn't a complete demolishment. It wasn't like a wrecking ball, but it was more like a wrecking ball to a corner of the house. So, like an explosive grenade or something hit the corner of the house or something like that. So, I just wanted to put that out there. That's what it's a decoding error when a certain validation needs to come through. If somebody's asking, what's this validation from my dead family member? It doesn't always jive because of from spirit to untranslated down, because you're talking to both of us. It doesn't always jive. Like if or if the passed on relative doesn't want to play that game, unless it's absolutely necessary for a particular lesson or a particular point. I won't be allowed to say. And some people get very frustrated with that and see that as a method of proof. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But on occasion it is not. So it is not an absolute thing. It can be fun, like in remote viewing contests and stuff like that. You heard Aubrey and I talk about it, at least by the time you hear this. Which I have, you'll see an audio version of that show up, unfortunately. But with that said, I want to leave that there. So, I have multiple downloads trying to come back to me at once from the data that was actually lost. It entered the Acacia, came right straight back to my brain. So I'm having to rush like a madman to recombobulate and put it all back in order, and it's quite annoying. So from the time of this recording. So I'm going to say the date is 6:14 p.m. Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. Thank you. Hello. I actually remember one of the questions from the Q&A. This was actually a fairly lengthy one, but the gist of the entire thing was, and since I can't find it in the email, it was a fairly old email, one that didn't get answered. It had gotten buried. So buried, I can't find it again. But I do remember what the gist of it was. It was essentially asking if the Ebens had returned. And it was, because of the Planet Serpo exchange program. And essentially, I'm going to go into this a bit. What happened? This was what the movie, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, was based off. You saw the exchange program, but the kinder version of that, both the movie version and the insider version, are slightly false. I'm not calling these people liars, but at the same time, they could have been brainwashed as well. Except one of the insiders I do agree with, where they were trying to depict the Ebens as nice. Just like during the exchange program, the people that went to Planet Serpo played games with the Ebens, they played soccer, they did all this other stuff. The Ebens aren't that nice, folks. And the part about them recycling a couple humans that had passed away on the way there. They literally believed in recycling the genetics, and that almost caused a fight between the humans and the Ebens on Planet Serpo, because the humans wanted to do a ceremony, and the Ebens really didn't think about that. Yeah, do they worship a god? Yeah, but it's more of an AI god. And some of the Orion belief systems that were put in place. They're basically no different than the Orions. They're the ones that create the little gray butthead robots that people see. They're manufactured on Planet Serpo and brought here. And they're also, the schematics were sold off to our military. And our military also has their own homegrown version of the Greys. They got the schematics, but our technology was slightly simpler. They had even help to create this. Now, I'm going to go into something that isn't very popular. For one, the Ebens also have a rendition of the soul transfer technology used in the SSP. You've heard the things with the tanks and also the body transfer, switch tech, all of it, and also the agenda having to do with some of the transgenderism that is taking place out there. That if you go back and reference the episode, transgenderism and the body switching technology, it's in there. That is primarily at the moment Orion Eben tech they stole from Lyrans. That is an unpopular part. Another unpopular response that I'm about to give, and I did a little mini recording like this on this before, but that went up in smoke along with the Q&A on our old computer. Thank you, military. Thank you, aliens. But It was very traumatic. It's like losing a child when you lose something like that. Not to denigrate anybody losing a child. I'm just saying from our perspective, it's like losing a loved one of some sort when something like that happens, because work goes with it. Something that you put your heart and soul into goes with it. So, not to be offensive. What took place? And again, this is going to be very unpopular. You probably heard the story of EBE-1, which is that was an Eben. That's also where sometimes the term Eben came from. Basically, in 1947, or in leading up to the Roswell incident, there were also multiple crashes of UFOs that took place leading up to the Roswell incident, including also the Roswell incident itself. The Eben, known as EBE-1, supposedly told the government at that time that about the crash, why UFOs crashed, because of our now I'm getting a little bit of mind wipe, because of our magnetic field and our energy fields on Earth, which is still true. And then EBE-1 helped spin the story about Roswell. What the story was, truthfully, was the Nazis wanting to actually get off the planet and go to Mars, Ceres, and the Moon eventually, and create the lunar colony, Martian colony, and Ceres colony. Is they were tampering in the background and tinkering with portal technology, with craft, and with technologies that the Draco Orions and the other the negative Cassiopean group gave to them, and that's what was the violation of certain treaties out there. This is why the Mosen got involved in World War I and World War II. They were involved in World War I, but also more so in World War II, helping the Americans and the British against the Nazis, because it was a rival alien group that had violated some galactic treaties and interfered. So that's that in a nutshell. But what happened in Roswell was it was a Nazi Bell craft that they attempted to shove through a singularity or a wormhole or portal. This is the technology they used to get to Mars. So this portal, if you get it slightly wrong with a certain equation off, it's going to shred the craft, and that's what happened. It shredded it all over the Roswell Desert. And unfortunately, they needed test subjects, so the beings that were in there were genetically modified people that have larger heads, because these were homegrown clones that were not allowed to maturate properly, and these were grown life forms. They were terrified, and they were put in the seats of these UFOs, and it was these were test subjects, like crash test dummies, like what the Nazis did with the Jews themselves, used them to test all varieties of different genetic works and different serums and different weapons, things of that nature, since they saw them as a lesser life form or virtually non-existent life form. That's what they did. With this is no different. These were clones that were genetically pieced together like a bunch of little Frankensteins, and they were dwarves. And a couple of them were of altering heights, varying heights, but most of them were midgets, and they didn't quite get the technique down right. They grew them too fast, and they kind of looked all cavemanish and big-headed, like somebody with that hypercephaly type of disease. And some people think, Chris, you're off the mark. This has always been about aliens. Wrong. In this case, it was alien-born technology and alien-born genetic techniques that the Nazis were using. And just because I'm not saying it was alien, saying it wasn't alien, doesn't mean I'm automatically on the side of the government. Some people have said this about us before. And I'm not taking the side of the cabal, military, or government. They were wrong for doing this. Very much so. The truth is much more horrifying than the cover story. EBE-1, that is if that being existed at all. And it wasn't just the Ebens themselves that have always been here. They've never left since ancient times. They've been here for thousands of years. Never left, along with a lot of the Orions, class 1, class 2 type, Fomorian types, and long-headed skull types. None of these beings have left, folks. They say, oh, the Anunnaki will return. Never left. In order to return, you would have had to have left. Just like with the Jesus story. They're saying, oh, he'll return. These beings never left. Enlil never left. So with that, they also have created, and you heard me say this in the tip end of another Q&A, but I'll refresh it a little bit. They created the myths and the legends surrounding the indigo crystal children and the 144,000. Granted, there is a good side to the 144,000 where these people start little energetic fires all over the place and expand the knowledge and the codes. This is the reason why those beings came in. But at the same time, the Ebens will always take credit for this because they believe they were the sole creators of this mythology, whereas they implanted. They're wiping me now. I knew it was them doing this. Folks, well, this is going on while I'm trying to explain this. Again, even though it's been out there on the internet, they don't like it when I recap either. They think, they find it offensive. But what happened was, these were like genetic insertions as time went on. They had hybrid children that came in with some of their genes. A few generations down the road, here come the indigo, with a little bit more hybrid genes. Here come the crystal children with a little bit more of these hybrid genes, and then they're considered to be geniuses and savants and all this. It's because they have more intelligence. It wasn't about the energy in that respect. It was that they had slightly more brain power because they had more of the Eben hybridized genes. The eyes were slightly larger. They were considered to have greater soul capacity. There was greater brain capacity. Granted, this does not mean, again, not denigrating the energetic process of creating codes and codexes as time goes on and having more advanced children. But the Ebens wanted others to believe that all children past a certain time were going to be this anointed type of race that would save the planet. That is completely false. That is New Age starseed crap. So I just wanted to insert that. The same way they faked the whole Roswell story is the same way that these same aliens concocted the 144,000 indigo children story and crystal children, saying, oh, they would all be advanced. See, I made the same mistake, folks. This is why I was frustrated. I thought all consecutive new generations were going to come in more advanced, coming in with more knowledge. That's what the prophecies all said. Ebens created the prophecies. They wanted to make sure that there was a have and have-nots, that like there was a supposed more advanced and lesser advanced. No. Yes, there's stupidity out there, but at the same time, it's grown from the same beings and the same technology and the AI and all of that. That's why there's so much stupidity. That's why there's so much, it's control. And also that New Age belief was part of that control, you see. The New Age belief was part of that control. But I'm not saying that the energy isn't happening. I'm not saying there aren't more advanced souls coming in. There's just certain souls coming in that have a purpose at a specific time in a specific place. And you can say everyone is like that. Everyone has their lanes. Everyone has their lanes. But to say one is more anointed than the other, granted there are some ahead of the curve because that is their lane. That is why they came in. But it doesn't mean somebody else's lane is less important. Yes, there are some there's some insiders out there that say that there's less important people, more important people, some that have certain paths and some that have greater paths. And yeah, I kind of agree, but that's also denigration as well. Everybody has their path that is doing something out there to change things or bring something to light. Even if it's participating in the for and against, it's bringing the for and against to light. Even though that's wrong, there's also overage out there too, as I've also explained earlier in the show. But this person had asked the Ebens return, as I've said. They're going off of the history of the Eben exchange program with Planet Serpo. And thinking that few stayed and then died, That's what's also the history said. Some stayed, died, and then supposedly more were going to show up later. Did some possibly pass away? Yes, but it's my belief, this is more my opinion at the moment, that those Ebens never died. And they're sitting in the bottom of the Sandia base, even as we're speaking now. And I have done channelings with them before. And there are some even in this neighborhood, as you heard me say on a previous recording. There's some that live in this neighborhood that are taking on human codes. They're extincting, essentially, their part of their genome to hybrid with humans, again, to create that next generation of people that were supposed to be more advanced. So, but nobody's really technically more advanced, it's just they all have different lanes. It's the ego that pretty much says more important, less important. And yes, are there people that do dumb things? Absolutely correct. Are there government people that do malicious and evil things? Absolutely correct. Are there aliens that do the same? Absolutely correct. And do I think evil is less important? Yes. But at the same time, there is no good and evil. It's all different perspectives in that train of thought. Granted, those that do evil unto others, I have no respect for. It does not mean that I consider anyone lesser. And this is the philosophy that the negative aliens wanted out there, lesser and greater. Right and wrong. Granted, is evil wrong? Yes, of course, acts of evil are wrong. But just saying that one group is lesser than another, that's the same as that Nazi mentality, master race crap. So that is what I wanted to say with them. And that was a question that came up. That it was a much longer question that had more in-depth stuff in it. I can't find it, folks. So I know the short version is have the Ebens returned. That's what it was in a nutshell. Yes, I actually remembered this. I was very, very despondent when the computer went up. And the fact that now I'm redoing all of this, but there may be something even better that comes out of this. So keep sending in your Q&A questions, everyone. Don't stop. Just don't stop, because we will keep doing them. We're not going to be shot down here. I know I said on the other episode, yeah, you're not going to see it. I was slightly more upset there, but just keep them coming, folks, because we're going to keep answering them. I know you don't see a Q&A but once in every blue moon, but we're going to keep answering them, folks. So keep sending gobs of them in, whether they're on the YouTube, under different shows, whether they're on the Facebook, whether they're through the email, any of those mediums, Patreon, if you're on there, send them in there. We'll put them on the Q&A. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me ramble on about this. It's 1:04 p.m. on Monday, October 18th, 2021. Thank you. Hello. This is something I wanted to bring up for the Q&A as well. I'll try not to twirl around and make people sick like that. Okay. This is something that a friend of mine just brought up a little bit ago. And I'm actually agreeing with this because this is co-synchronous with a dream that I had back in the 90s, mind you. I think you all know about Notre Dame when that burned. And I knew there was an energy collection unit there, and I knew there was government and also white hats and black hats and stuff involved in that. And I knew that there were things going on underneath, like aliens doing their usual thing, and they were being struck out against, and Cabal was being struck out against. But what I had confirmed is that there was a dream I had back in the 90s of black-suited people, like politicians. The dream had George W. Bush in it, and Bush Sr. in it. And Bush Jr. walks up to something covered by a sheet, a person covered by a sheet, and pulls a sheet down, and it's Jesus with solid black eyes. And from what I understand, the cloning facility on Mars, as what was said also on our Patreon, that the Nazis like to clone some of their heroes from history a lot and keep them around as like a figurehead. And they do have them as like as a figurehead, but they have the ability to take and create these religious figures like Buddha, like Jesus, all of them. And I believe that in that future timeline that you heard me talk about in that Messages episode was more like a clone of like a Buddha type figure to create that awe effect. And what they were doing within this dream sequence is they were basically, what I saw is they were dumping a negative energy or soul, or like Antichrist. I don't buy completely into that, but others do, and they can manipulate that. I don't buy into the apocalypse thing, but they can manipulate those people that do. So, with that said, this person, or this being, looked like what you would expect Jesus to look like, the classic look. Even the Edgar Cayce look with the more auburn hair mixed with the classic look, which is like the old paintings, which really wasn't Jesus. That was just a model that posed for the painter. But people don't always know that. So they added that in. But what happened was it's like one of the Bushes, meaning Cabal, representing Cabal or Rothschild, was presenting this clone by unsheathing it, desheating it, and presenting it to others. And like something that they were going to present. Now with Notre Dame, they were doing it in the basement of Notre Dame. I didn't know this until this friend of mine brought this up. And it makes perfect sense that the Notre Dame burning was burning not only the alien energy collection farming unit that was in there, but the laboratory that was beneath it. And this confirmed what I'd seen many years ago. This was in the 90s, long before this event ever happened. This was in 2019 this happened. Yeah. So this confirmed this. What they were doing was cloning these religious figures, and they were finalizing something that was taking place in the basement of Notre Dame. Certain white-hatted groups out there and other aliens didn't want this perpetuated even further, that they could use as a false flag, and they didn't have the resources again to create another one of that caliber. Something that they had been probably tweaking since the 90s. Something they've been going, okay, this personality trait's off, this one's off, let's time this, and this. Sometimes those things aren't instant, sometimes they take a while. And they planned things decades back in advance. So when I was seeing it was more than likely when they were unveiling it as a project presentation of some kind to other Cabal enthusiasts and other Cabal and corporate and laboratory people. So they were presenting that more than likely at that time, and they were starting to dump the energy into it to make this more convincing. And in 19 is when this was found out. Now, could they create another clone? Yeah, but it probably won't be as manicured as the Jesus one was. This one was completely subservient to them, but at the same time would be able to do the things that Jesus supposedly is able to do, like heal people with hands, do all the things, the stigmata, all of those things. And bringing in those energies that could possibly heal people, even have nanotech in there that would go inside of people and heal them. Do things like that. Some of those things take time to perfect. And especially as far back as the 90s, they were more than likely tweaking this as they went along and slowly gestating it. And it got destroyed. And also the thing with the stigmata, people get these wounds, like the wounds of Jesus. Oh my God, that goes to stigmata. Even though he never had technically those wounds, in that sense, they're still bringing in that energy, and they are co-creating and manifesting that through their own energetic and telekinetic abilities. Those people that have the stigmata. It is also a series of implants that was put inside of those people because they were meant to be what I call the God Squad, or religious agents of some kind. Sometimes in the SSP they would go either scientific or they would go religious. Like they would be a scientist that would come up with something that would get debunked later on, or they would be like a piece of equipment or something that they're an agent out in society trying to debunk different scientific finds and different agents saying, that piece of equipment won't work. Oh no, that won't work. Oh, that won't work. Even though it would. On the religious side, and I've run into those other agents, but on the religious side, you have these God Squad kids that are trained to be programmed, appear to become like the next Fatima or Medjugorje. And this is essentially would have been the ultimate something of one of those. That clone would have been the ultimate of one of those types of people. Oh, somebody that saw the Virgin Mary, or somebody that saw this or saw that, where aliens were also participating in this to woo the crowd, like at Fatima and Medjugorje. But then you have those that saw an alien ship at those sites, but then weren't believed by the crowd because the crowd was all locked into the religious thing. Oh, Virgin Mary is telling us something. Yeah, it's an alien wearing a hologram, using a hologram, and sometimes the kids are programmed to really believe it and become a prophet. Some of those kids didn't really always believe it. There were other kids there that saw an alien ship, and they were laughed out of there by the religious crowd, who was actually the ones incorrect, now I'm being brainwiped a little bit. The children, though, with these God Squad children, as I like to call them, or Miracle Squad, or Miracle Workers, either one of those work, Miracle Workers, are sent out there to be these prophets that mimic these religious events, and those mimic these religious beliefs, so that it carries on or perpetuates a false belief, a false religious belief. And also, this happens in the New Age crowd with, as I said in a previous video for this Q&A, about the Eben agenda, where they slid in more of their genetics. In this case, it was purely religious. I do believe the Evens were in on it because they're master geneticists, but also the Martian Germans were in on this as well because of their cloning laboratory. They had a big one on Mars, folks. Big one. One of the biggest ones in the system, actually. Even though they could do it on Earth, Mars has more room. And they have a huge facility that's linked to an ancient ruin that's there. That was also had alien technology there integrated in. With that set from the old society that the Martian Germans are related to. Some of their ancestry can be traced back to Mars. That's why they were compelled to go back there. And also the fact that history and the technology, and they had all that waiting for them. But anyway, in a nutshell, fake Jesus clone destroyed under Notre Dame, along with alien energy collector in different dimensional state. Basically those Archon energy collectors you always hear us talking about on different ley line intersections and such, and that Notre Dame lands on one. But the Cabal wanted to make a false flag out of it and say, oh my God, look at how horrible this is. And yeah, it is a historical site. It's ancient. It would be horrible. But from seeing it from the flip side of it, it's not as bad as you think. But they were using it as a false flag to get people to power that energy collector, you see. Go, focus on this, pray for this place, please. And some people were legit about it. They were heartbroken that it was destroyed. And losing history like that, it sucks. Big time. It's like you've lost a baby. But, and that's how it feels to some people that are into the history. I'm into the history, but I don't feel that way. I didn't have a connection to that place like some people did. But, that was fueling the energy collector that was underneath. But then at the same time, you had these white hat people going in there and destroying the laboratory. They didn't see the energy collector because it was in a different dimension. They saw the laboratory with the fake Jesus. So the energy collector was trying to get energy, but at the same time, score one for the good guys, the fake Jesus is dead. So you have that. But that's what I was able to ascertain what was going on with that. I know it's a couple years out of date, folks. And we did answer the thing about the energy collector in a previous Q&A. But I wanted to give an update on that if you hadn't heard this. I believe it was also an Interstellar Council at some point that the Galactics touched on Notre Dame. They didn't go into the fake Jesus thing because of the fact that it was more of a hot button topic right now. Now it's a couple years out, and it can be more talked about without being canceled. So, at least not that I know of. So I believe we're good there for that. It is 5:46 p.m. on Monday, October 18th, 2021. Thank you. Okay, this is another video I have to re-record that got lost with that hard drive. It's one that I'd recorded the day before we went to Embracing Your Journey for the past few months. It was where I'd had a dream where I was entering a theater and entering, with my mother. And there was this person who was mimicking an older lady that we knew. That helped my grandmother out immensely. But this was very weird. All I remember from this is, and it's been a while, and I knew I asked to see anything that I'd forgotten that was pertinent. And this was a Dreamtime invasion because this woman, when we sat down in this theater, there was this bowl that was put in front of me that had my own liquids in it. And this demonic figure, I know this was a demon now, that was basically taking a ladle to my liquids that I normally make for land clearings, pouring something in it like a black goo and like a slurry, and putting it back in there and showing me, oh, nothing's happening. And then they took the essence of themselves, put it into it, and then picked it up and drank it right in front of me. And this older lady was we were at a theater, ready to watch a play. And essentially that was basically to show me that it was a play at a theater, or somebody trying to tell me that what I was doing was theater, an agenda, part of an agenda to act, or like some misinformation or something. The demon was trying to convince me of that. And putting parts of itself in the liquid, showing that it wasn't dissolving into it, and then re-drinking the liquid. But it was like it showed me that it could convert it, which it wouldn't be a very good land clearer if that could happen. It was just trying to get me to believe that was actually taking place. And getting me to stop making those things. Trying to make me think that my creations were not worthwhile. And that's where I had to use my intuition on that one. I went, no, that is not so. And the original recording I did on this, it was very early in the morning, when I came out here, like 5-something in the morning. And I recorded this before, but now I remember that this was very permanent. This is not a sign or a synchronicity, folks. This falls under fake synchronicity. This probably should have been under false messages. I now remember this probably should have been under false messages. So I was wondering what I had forgotten, and this was a clue here. So I'll put this on our YouTube. And there's that dog again. Can't go over there, but yeah, this was something that they'll try to get you to doubt your own creations and your own creativity. This is actually something that's been popping up lately, even now, even the month or so since we did that fair. This still applies. This was something that was supposed to go into the messages show, or an addendum to that, where I leave the little videos at the end. I couldn't remember if there's anything that I'd forgotten, essentially, for that. And now I know this was it. And I'll just put this link underneath that show and the link them back to each other. So, yeah, this was essentially demonic force trying to get me to doubt my own stuff, to actually make me doubt its potency, so that I screwed up the codes with it as well. And this is what I'm making now, the new one. So has a little bit elements of the old. That's the liquid that they did not want me to do, and they were trying to get me to go, oh, maybe it's not worthwhile, all of that. And I don't fall for that crap. So I wanted to make sure that was out there as well. For the messages, if you haven't seen the episode, the 4 messages for one or for all, this applies to that. So I wanted to make sure that was put down. So it is 2:16 p.m. October 20th, Wednesday, 2021. Thank you. Hello. This is something that also belonged with the messages program that has come up recently. Obviously somebody didn't get that we needed it before we recorded the program. But this happened a few nights ago, and I was thinking, okay, this falls under the messages category, or false messages category, to an extent. I was in the middle of a weird dream sequence, which I don't really remember. I just know it was manipulation. And snapped out of it, woke up, and I automatically, as I was waking up, felt a push, and then heard the telltale noise that an insectoid would make if they're mad. It's like the equivalent to a growl. Like I was going, ugh. Yeah, it's like that. And they go, and it's this really weird groan type of noise. Normally they do when they click or they chirp like a cricket, but when they're communicating. But this was more like disgust. And it's very similar to when I encountered a physical insectoid. This is where I know it from, when we were at the other house. And the room was only slightly lit by my laptop light reflecting on a mirror. And in that I could see the silhouette of an insectoid. I was partially paralyzed, but I had enough strength to lay on my side going like that. And I slowly raised a middle finger to him and I went, hey, asshole, fuck you. And I had the middle finger in its face. And I heard the noise, but enough also to feel his breath on my hand. Then I was able to snap out of it and chase him out of the room. This was very similar to where this particular insectoid made that noise. But what I didn't know was simultaneously, here goes the messages part, or synchronistic, false synchronistic part. You could fall under these categories. Joanna heard in her head, "Turn my body." And see, they like to issue mental commands to people. So saying "turn my body," meaning telling her to turn her body, trying to make her think it was her own thoughts. But she said she didn't hear it in her own voice. It was a male voice. So they were hoping they could disguise it as her own voice. Just like I said, when beings start communicating with you, you hear it in your own voice. I guess they thought she was a novice and would hear it in her own voice. And she heard it in theirs. So immediately she's like, screw you, I'm not going to do that. So what she did is what they were wanting to do, is when I snapped out of the dream, I started to flip my back away from the wall and flip towards the wall a little bit. And at the same time, I heard the when she heard turn my body, she was back down. She was on her back. And she wasn't going to move. And they were mad. Because they need access to the back or the spine to not only gain spinal fluids, but stem cells. So that's what they harvest. So they were obviously mad that neither the Dreamtime invasion or the mental command on the telepathic level or hypnotic level was obeyed. And I get the feeling there was more than one. I didn't see them, but they couldn't stand there very long. They had to have been using technology. We got too much stuff in here, like silver-based stuff. They can't be around silver. So it's like a werewolf. They can't be around silver. So just note, folks, that's the insectoids are highly allergic to silver and colloidal silver, just for future reference. They then hid, and later on that day, something cleared the energy as we were in a session we were doing the Law of One prayer, essentially. And we were also sweeping the house for anything. I was scouring, looking for something. I could feel it, but we felt the energy release once we were doing the law one and a few other things and audits and such like that. So in a session I did, that would have been yesterday. So felt that release. And it was quite, you could feel like the cork pop or the glass ceiling break. So they were evidently gone at that point. But yeah, sometimes I like to hide during the day or hibernate somewhere on the property if they want to hang around and try again. They'll stake the place out and try it again. But they don't get too many whacks at it. So they were more than likely trying to stay out of the house and hang out somewhere in like maybe a bubble or some kind of like cloak or shield, like bubble. Think of it as in Lord of the Rings where Frodo and Sam cover themselves in that blanket and they're made near Mordor and they made themselves look like a rock. That's essentially what these guys do. They can be out like in a swamp or in a forest or in a neighborhood or something, and they can make themselves look like something with technology. They also have the predator warbling, where you see that's like the bent light technology. I've physically seen an insectoid walk past me that was surprised I could actually see through that warbling or see it, and it's no different than the movie Predator. With him doing the click, and then in the forest, it's very much the same thing. Even though that was supposed to be something else, they open their mouth like that too. They have the like the predator as well. So mantids do, and some of the beetle-like ones do. It's pretty gross, folks. But not to slam any of the good ones that are out there, but it's creepy. On that note, the presence is gone, and that this falls under the false messages category in that way, both in the dream time, which the forest people call them the dreaming bugs for a reason. That's where we got the whole dream time invasion thing from to begin with. When we weren't here in the state yet, well, that's where we got the message for that from. Was from the dreaming bug incidences out on the East Coast, because the East Coast is full of insectoid presences. So, along the waterways and everything. Full of them. Spiders are more so out here. They have some primordial looking centipede spider looking ones that kind of rear up like this out there as well. Primordial old earth type ones that are out there that are in old nests that woke up after a while around 2016 or 17 or so. And 18, but when we were out there in 16, 17, we found all that out there. We found mixed between mantid and centipede looking types out there that were more like almost like queen bee types that would birth a lot of eggs. That's like a queen bee version of mantid. There's also ones that look like horseshoe crabs that some baby mantid looking ones are birthed that way. They have the shell of like a horseshoe crab, and they have a bioluminescent glow to them, very much like the bioluminescent plankton that's out there. And some of that out there is some of their larvae. They can birth them in the ocean. So some of that's actually their larvae, folks. They've learned how to adapt to Earth pretty efficiently, even though their earlier incarnations and attempts to create mantid beings here resulted in our praying mantis and some of our beetle species that became more instinctual and animal-like and not intellectual like them. So that was a disappointment to them, but they found a way to birth some of their people here over a period of time. So with that said, I think I'll end that here. But they lose the horseshoe crab shell over a period of time. At least some types do. Some types still have kind of like this weird horseshoe crab looking thing, or beetle look, but and then mantid look. But some of the mantids lose that shell. And a horseshoe crab kind of looks very similar to the way it looks. And if you were to pick one up and flip it over, it would glow blue if it was agitated like the plankton. You just see this little larvae of like a insectoid, mantid looking being. Also back then, I had a dream where Chawanda of the ancient Mayan people, was sitting on the beach with me and my mother, and I picked up what I thought was a horseshoe crab, and we were at night on the beach where all the bioluminescent plankton was coming in under the moonlight, and this was actually quite odd, where you picked it up, and this being turned blue and was agitated and looked at me. I went, ugh, and put it back down. I picked it up. And that's where I was being shown the origin of some of them that were on the East Coast. Here's another strange one. Another dream. This was something that was lost on the old computer. Before I go here, I'll add this one in. I had written it down, but it was on the computer. Whereas I had a dream where I was with a military team where we took the moon out of the sky and split it in half. And we shrunk it down to where it was small. We cracked it open, and the first thing that came out of the moon was an insectoid at the center of the moon. It was a very small one. I smacked it around a little bit, and I put it over on a towel, and it eventually died. And there was also this rock-looking being I pulled out of there that was sitting injured over on a towel. And then I saw a family of these like rock-looking beings walking out of this split moon. And it's just also it's almost like they were rescued from this insectoid being. So what happened was this military team then was basically, they were all kind of high-fiving each other going, yeah, we did it, stuff like that. And they were being very congratulatory. And on the moon currently, there is, not only aside from the Nazis and the insectoids and reptilians and such, there is a good American base up there that is keeping watch on the other ones. Even though there's treaty and contractual stuff in place, they are kind of like a counterbalance. So there is good up there, and I believe this was related to that. I'll attach this video to that recording me and Ryan did, because it has to do with that military group. I understand that dream a little more in depth now. And the Earth was not worse for wear. When the moon was pulled away, we weren't as dependent on it as they keep saying. We weren't as dependent on it at all. It's like in the cartoon Dragon Ball Z when the character Piccolo blows the moon up to prevent character Gohan from transforming into this werewolf-type creature. The Earth was no different. And this is how it was. It was like all the seasons were intact. Everything was intact. So I'm thinking whatever they've told us about the moon, keeping certain cycles in place, and we're dependent on it almost like a surrogate or a fake hip or like a limb that we're having to depend on. No, I don't think we're dependent on it at all, to tell you the truth. It's more like a lens beaming Saturn's and other planetary junk down here. And it's also a more of a weapon as well, weapon ship that is in need of repair. But it got locked into geosynchronous orbit around the planet. But I don't believe the stories around some of it, because the Earth was not a desert beforehand. It was very lush. The galactics had made it that way. It was seeded that way. It was not dependent on the moon, folks. And back in, I believe, the 1500s, some monks reported the moon split in half and there was red stuff coming out of the inside. It was like somebody tried to split it and get rid of it and then had to quickly put it back together and repair it as best they could. I believe there was an invasion and a battle going on at that time, because in the Renaissance period in that time as well, the people reported battles going on over like Venice and all this other stuff. They drew pictures of battles going on. So I believe this was all inclusive, and I believe a battle went on. Somebody tried to destroy the moonship and weren't completely successful. And some reptilians and such repaired it at that time as best they could. They more than likely just patched it together. But somebody obviously split it. Somebody obviously did the job. But in the dream sequence, we we shrunk it down, and it's like we were able to open it like a flower bloom or like an egg, or it's like those plastic eggs you crack open. And it's like, I believe that's a function of it, but at the same time, they don't want that. They don't want it split open like that. Yeah, I believe it has a certain function to it. You can crack it open or break the lock on it in some fashion, and break it. And it has like a hinge or something that holds it together. Or something that holds it together, like a lock. But you can break it open if need be to get inside. And this is what I saw in both those instances, and that was reported in, when I was looking back, I looked back in that time frame to see what happened. I did see it split open in a battle. So, we're not as dependent on the moon as they say. So I believe that that falls under insectoid as well, and false messages. That also falls under false messages, because years ago I saw Bugnassi, the insectoid that I would speak to. He said he was at the center of the moon along with his family, sitting in a command center that had this large computer that had people's names on it. Essentially, it was the soul trap, contractual garbage where all the people's codes and soul energies were saved. And that's why they always say avoid the moon when you die, because it's a trap for the soul, or a soul trap. So essentially it was an AI holding all those consciousnesses. I found out Hitler's consciousness is in that very computer at the center of the moon. And they can upload his consciousness to a new body whenever, and I feel they've already done it, and he could be in a woman's body for all we know. I know he's still around. And the Nazis keep bringing him back. They also keep cloning their people all the time on the moon, like people that they revere, or heroes they revere on the moon. Different heroes or folk heroes. They like to do that. They do that quite a bit, actually, and it's happened here down on the earth. This is also like what I said in that other recording about the false Jesus being cloned, and I'll add that at the end of this program as well. So I believe we're good now. And I believe Bugnassi's gone, and his family's gone. That's just a feeling that I have. And I discovered he was not too good. So we'll go here. It is 6:47 a.m. on Friday, October 22nd, 2021. Thank you.